Mumbai, you can do better. You have enough money.
Their name is Indians. I don't know if they can do better. They had all the choice of names and they went with Indians.
And these guys are like, yeah, RCB in the playoffs. I'm like, one man has put you through.
Chennai is still playing Dwayne Bravo. I don't even know if he's playing any other cricket, barring just coming for this one time of the year, flying to India, playing for CSK and then going back.
Feel like the coach's value is even more pointless. It's like having a lifeguard in an Olympic swimming pool.
I honestly believe Ashish Nehra for the win, okay? Ashish Nehra is the GOAT.
I always said that Joss Buttler is going to be someone, like he will be the world's best batsman.
He can hit, guys. When he hits, he hits.
Presentation ceremonies this time in the IPL were never ending. I was like, okay, it's going to stop now. Okay, it's going to stop now. Okay, it's going to stop now.
Hey, 1 second. Robin Uthappa really never won it out.
Hey bro, you're supposed to guess and then at the end I tell you the answer, my guy. तू ऐसे कैसे पूछ रहा है सही है कि नहीं? You're asking the teacher if you got the answer. Hey bro, is it C or D?
Hey everyone, welcome back to an all-new episode of All About Sports, the podcast, a weekly sports podcast for the fans, by the fans. Joining me today are Aniket.
Hello.
And Rishabh.
Hey everyone.
And I'm Mazhar. And sadly, Shubham won't be joining this time. But last week, Shubham and I had a very nice discussion because it seemed like what was an extravaganza of sports happening in recent times. We had the Roland Garros just wrapping up. Firstly, shout out to Rafa Nadal, who has won his 14th Roland Garros title and 22nd Grand Slam. Now he's just behind Margaret Court, who has 24, and Serena Williams, who has 23. He just tied Steffi Graf for 22 slams. Unbelievable achievement. I'm sure we'll delve into that later on. And if you didn't catch it, then you can just check out last week's episode. We also covered the Monaco Grand Prix and where things stand with that. We also spoke about the Finalissima, which Argentina beat Italy in, the first one of its kind. And of course, the Champions League final as Madrid beat Liverpool in a pretty amazing game. Now, coming to the IPL, we also discussed the IPL. We mentioned that Gujarat had won the title, and Shubham had highlighted that we will be deep diving into that. And we're going to be doing that for this week's episode. So I'm going to start off right away. Again, like I said, Gujarat won the title in their maiden season. Krishnan, I'll come to you first. You are, I think we've already mentioned this in the past as well. You are a Chennai fan. Of course, Chennai for a change ended up on the other end of the table. It's happened twice in 3 seasons now. Funny thing is, the third season they ended up winning. It's like a Lakers situation right now, currently with the Super Kings. I think it's something to do with the color yellow. No, but what were your thoughts on the IPL? I know you were watching, like tracking it. I'm not sure how the timing would have worked out for you, but you were definitely keeping tab on the IPL. And what did you make of the season?
First off, I think it was a pretty fun season. I loved the introduction of the 2 new teams. I think it just added a little bit of fresh blood. You know, it at the end of the day, the passion that you can have for IPL will never match international cricket because the stakes are just not that high. It is just not as consequential a tournament, barring the money aspect. But I'm saying from just a fandom of sport and fandom of cricket, it's not going to be as big a tournament. So I love the introduction of the 2 new franchises right off the bat, because it brought in some new blood and brought in some new fresh Indian captains as well, right? Hardik Pandya has never been a captain, been on Mumbai Indians, I think pretty much his entire time in the IPL, gets to switch up and become captain. KL Rahul, of course, had been captain before at Kings 11, moves over to the Lucknow Super Giants and captains them as well. And I thought did a fantastic job. But honestly, now my loyalties are totally split. It's between CSK and then whoever I predict to do well at the start of the season, which I've been ludicrously bad, but at least the one thing I got right was that both new franchises would be in the playoffs, which is what happened. So I'll take 2 of 4. I didn't get the other 2 correct. I didn't freaking expect Joss Buttler to do this. We can talk about that later. But
see, Krishnan, this is where you lack the expertise. Joss Buttler is so good, so good. I would have definitely have if I was a betting man, I would have put my money on Josh Buttler to win the Orange Cap. 100%. I would have had KL Rahul and Josh Buttler up there. You'll get there, but I was impressed by your selections too.
Bro, I got the other two. I'll take 2 out of 4, man. And I said it would come down to DC versus RCB, and I picked DC. My mistake. Obviously, RCB got the 4th spot. So almost there. I didn't predict Rajasthan. I have to be honest. I was way off on Rajasthan, though, I will say. A quick shout out to Gujarat. Very honestly, I thought Hardik Pandya. Now the team was very strong. Let's also just be honest. The team was very strong. And the two things we constantly reiterate on this podcast when it comes to the IPL: one, it overinflates and maybe to some extent underinflates the value of a captain. So anyone who's getting super excited on here's another option for captaincy, don't get too excited. Hardik Pandya is not a proven captain. He had a phenomenal squad, and yes, I don't think he did a bad job. I think he did a pretty good job. He actually bowled, which is a very, very positive aspect for Indian cricket going forward, because one of the big reasons why he's not been a consistent player in the Indian team is just we weren't sure with his back injury if he'd be able to bowl. So I think a lot of positives to take away from this tournament. Big ones, of course, being Hardik Pandya, Josh Buttler, which we'll get into later on. I loved the influence of, again, the influence of kind of the fresh blood that was brought in there. And you know what? Even though Chennai didn't make it, I was excited to see Chennai and Mumbai be nowhere in contention. Frankly, the teams have done a terrible job of restructuring their team. Chennai is still playing Bravo. How is this guy still playing in the IPL? Now, listen, he has a killer slow delivery. He still bowls well at the death, but he doesn't make it to the West Indies team. I don't even know if he's playing any other cricket, barring just coming for this one time of the year, flying to India, playing for CSK, and then going back. I don't know if he plays any other cricket. But I think, to be honest, Mumbai and Chennai didn't deserve to be in the top 4. They've not structured a well-designed team. They're a very old team, very aging team. And I personally thought it would show last season as well. But Faf du Plessis and Ruturaj Gaikwad carried Chennai through. This season, they've lost Faf. Ruturaj, I think, had an okay season, but they weren't able to make it happen. All in all, pretty fun season. Good job for Gujarat and good news for India that Hardik Pandya is another all-round option, very, very much who will be in contention for the Indian team, especially with the T20 World Cup.
So many things you said, and I'm in so much in a mood to contend a lot of the things you said, Krishnan. But because Dwayne Bravo, I will not accept any criticism of Dwayne Bravo. He played 10 games this season only, of course, because, well, Chennai were pretty terrible. But he had 16 wickets and he had a pretty good strike rate as well. Economy rate was 8.7, which is typically what you expect from Bravo. As long as it's within 9, I think he's done a good job. But I'm not going to get into the other critiquing factors at this point in time. I'm just going to move over to Gui. Gui, which was, I know, firstly, we've discussed this several times. IPL and you just don't mix. Let's be very honest and open about that. But do you think you've seen enough from anyone, apart from obviously the well-established names, who have made good, genuine calls to be called up to the Indian squad in the limited overs format?
No. See, like it's always a flat no for me. Okay, like this is, to me, IPL is pure entertainment, right? Okay, barring DK, who actually did make it, right? Dinesh Karthik did get a call up from his IPL exploits because he was probably a one-man show for RCB for like a span of 4 games, 5 games, 6 games almost. And these guys are like, yeah, RCB in the playoffs. I'm like, one man has put you through one. Like, I don't know where. Honestly, RCB going through to the playoffs was a miracle which DK pulled off on his own back. Like, he's like, y'all forget it. I don't want anything from y'all. I'm too bored with playing this county cricket and all this, whatever kind of cricket he plays otherwise. I want to play in the national team. I will do this all on my own. Because the team was shoddy. I mean, they had 1 or 2 games where they did well. Like, by they, I mean 3 of their expected contributors actually contributed, barring the DK. But otherwise, I'm like, what is that team? And barring DK, of course, Hardik is not someone I would put in the same bracket. He's a India player. Come on, like, until he had that back injury, he was the part of the squad. So I'm not going to say that Hardik, based on his IPL form, needs to be put in the team. He should be in the team whenever he can perform to his capabilities. That's one thing I believe. Shubman is always in contention, right? Like, it's just a matter of time more than anything. And other than that, also, I don't think Shubman was that good towards the fag end of the tournament. Of course, he hit the winning runs, but like that's the last 3 or 4 games pre the playoffs. I think he was okay. He started off very well, which is why everyone remembers, and he ended the tournament very well. So you remember, but of course, like his name is not going to disappear unless he pulls off a Prithvi Shaw or something.
I've realized one thing on our podcast. Prithvi Shaw is the Russell Westbrook of cricket for us. Definitely, at least for Gui and me, it's definitely that.
That is a high compliment for Prithvi Shaw. The Russell Westbrook.
No, in terms of not skill wise or talent wise, there's no comparison in that sense. But as in
just to drop a third on,
in the most, I don't know what way Gui put that in, but yeah, however he said it, that's it. That is the nicest way, I guess. I could have said it as well, because there were many other words going on in my head for that.
to be honest, like my favorite, like, because I don't think Gujarat, like, if a lot of people are putting that Gujarat team on a pedestal, saying like they were almost like a brilliant team, but they had a lot of matches where like Rahul Tewatia saved them in 2 games, or David Millers have had to save. It's almost a save. They've been saved by individual performances. But I honestly believe Ashish Nehra for the win. Okay, Ashish Nehra is the GOAT. Okay, he's the one who's pulling all the miracles for them. Okay, I am pro Ashish Nehra. He deserves a call up. Excuse me, he deserves the call up to the coaching staff. Give him the job.
I think I agree with Krishnan in a lot of ways, where he said, where the captain's value can be overstated or under, however you want. Like, you can look at it at both ways. Feel like the coach's value is even more pointless. It's like having a lifeguard in an Olympic swimming pool. It's the same sort of concept as what you feel when you talk about the IPL. But yeah, but Nehra's vibes, and that's all that matters. He's vibes.
One thing I did want to say, Gui, to just your point of no one really exciting coming through from this IPL, I do sort of agree with you. The one caveat, though, I will say is I think a lot of people have pushed themselves back into contention is what I would argue, right? I would argue like a lot of people who I'm not saying that people who are out of contention really, but they're on the fringe. They're not assured starters. Yuzvendra Chahal is probably a big name. I know we're going to get to that as well, right? We're going to get to his performance in the IPL. You look at someone like, obviously, Shubman Gill, he is a player who's always going to be in contention, but like not consistently an assured factor. You look at someone like Hardik Pandya. I didn't realize this. He was 4th in the purple cap. Oh, sorry, in the orange cap.
Krishna, we'll get into this later.
Yeah.
We'll get into this later.
Yeah.
I'll save those questions. But I was going to come to you with that. Umar Malik, fantastic bowler. Firstly, he's clocking 150. He had perfect line and length, hitting the spots outside the off stump. I don't remember the last time I've seen anyone apart from Rabada and Stein. Rabada also not so much after his recent stint with injuries. But it was basically the last I remember someone swinging the ball away from the batsman or even into them at 150, apart from the Pakistani bowlers who are just absurd. We're seeing Umar Malik come up from nowhere. Of course, he's trained under Stein, so it makes sense. But he's taken like a fish to water. So firstly, what did you make of Umar Malik's performance? And also, what do you think like are India's chances going into the T20 World Cup? I have to bring this up right now.
So I'll start off with Umar Malik. I'll be completely honest. Someone else told me about him, like a friend of mine. I had not really tracked because I wasn't really watching Hyderabad games very closely, to be fully honest.
You're
But
not
another
missing out on much, Krishnan. They were the most boring team this IPL.
even though they weren't last, I would rather watch a Mumbai or Chennai game. Like, even though they weren't, they were just they were like the epitomization of just Kane Williamson, but like without exciting. Like, Kane Williamson's just a famous enough player that I'll watch him. But if you're just like, you play like Kane Williamson and the whole team like has his demeanor, but you're not that famous, you're not going to end up getting a lot of views. So I didn't end up watching him that much. But I think you hit the perfect points, Maz. An extremely fast bowler. One of the beauties that we've talked about so much in the last 4 years of Indian cricket is not only is India becoming an actual force from a bowling perspective, it's coming from the pace bowlers. And someone like him is another example of the fact that not only are we going to have players who can swing the ball and are, for the longest time called wily customers, we're going to have fast-paced attacking bowlers. So I think a great tournament for him showed a lot of pace. And I think where India, it has a lot of value because for the longest time, I think all of us on this podcast, but maybe there's some argument, believe pretty firmly if Jasprit Bumrah and Mohammad Shami are fit, they are in the squad. Like, I think it's pretty an open and I think it's pretty much an open and closed case, right? Like, those two are in the squad. But we found in recent years, we don't have their assurance because they're both heavily injury prone players. Two, is there still that third spot that I think is very, very much open? Like in Test cricket, Ishant Sharma has gotten to play a lot of games. We still see a lot of opportunities for Umesh Yadav. In limited overs cricket, we're seeing a lot of players come through. We still see Prashid Krishna get a few opportunities. In my opinion, he's not the most impressive bowler. So I do think there's a massive opening for him to come in. And especially with Bumrah and Shami's injuries, we really need a guy who can bowl quickly. And I think he can slot into that spot very well. Like you said, he's a very young cricketer. I think there's a lot of optimism about him. The only caveat, again, I will draw is it's been one season. I think Mohammad Siraj proved that one season can mean a lot. Like he's, I think, been a pretty phenomenal international cricketer after having just basically one good season with RCB. But I always say that about an IPL season, it is a season. It is a season in India. Let's see how he can perform more consistently and, give him a shot. Like, I think we have enough series, but I don't necessarily know if like he's a shoo-in for the T20 team. But I know you're going to say something, but I'm happy to then say something about the World Cup as well. But it seemed like you were going to say something about him too.
No, I just wanted to make sure you didn't forget the second part as well. Go ahead.
The second part was, it's a very strange thing. This is weirdly the most concerned I've been about Indian cricket. For the longest time, we've had this argument about Indian cricket, which is we have so much depth. The last 5 years, we've said this thing. We have so much depth. We have so many players, so many spots to fill. I think the flip side of that is almost like a moral hazard issue. No one person has been a shining light in this Indian cricket team in recent months and years. I think KL Rahul, Jasprit Bumrah have been like reasonably consistent performers, but I'm getting slightly concerned by we have all these players to choose from. I completely admit, but there isn't anyone who's been consistent on a day-by-day basis. And maybe we were pampered by the Kohli of the 2010 to 2016s. Maybe we were pampered by Mahendra Singh Dhoni for who he was as a finisher from 2010, 2008 even to 2016. But I'm getting very, very concerned by lack of consistency. And I think that's an issue that is going to plague us going into this T20 World Cup, both from a selection standpoint and from actually just performance. Like, who is a guy we can count on to like get 30, 40 runs in a game? It doesn't have to be a 50, it doesn't have to be a century, but every game will stick in and get us 30, 40 runs. I'm not sure I have an answer. And when you're bigger figures, like, listen, Virat, I think is having an okay tournament. I don't think he had a great IPL again. I think his lease is getting shorter and shorter now that he isn't captain. Rohit Sharma again had a very average IPL. He's had a fine year. I mean, he's captain, but I'm just worried about consistency is my entire concern. And I don't know what the squad looks like, very frankly. I think KL Rahul is a shoo-in. The two pace bowlers are a shoo-in. And obviously like Kohli, Rohit, they'll be in, but I'm just worried if their performances are ever going to see an uptick. And maybe I'm becoming like a paranoid person, but at some point it's an issue when they're not performing for a period of time, in my opinion.
Krishnan, you hit the nail on the head with your points, because I know for a fact Gui will agree with you, because he's already highlighted that the biggest issue for Indian cricket recently has been the fact that we don't know who our full 11 really is. We don't have a consistent 11. Gui, I'm coming to you with this point before we move on to back into the IPL, just to caveat a bit. India still is looking for that middle order batsman, right? Like Surya Kumar Yadav is there. But again, he got injured, so missed the IPL. So there's no guarantee then. Even if you slot him in, and then you have Rishabh Pant, then you play your spinner, so you play Jaddu most likely, because he can bat as well. You still need that one slot to fill in. You still have that one slot to fill in. Now, Hardik Pandya will obviously start, so which means Shardul goes back to the bench. But now it comes down to who they are playing, when they are playing. Do you think India should go in with an extra batsman? And do you think the faith shown in Ishan Kishan in the past was a good decision, or do you think they should have just probably have gone with a more experienced head? I know Shreyas was injured as well, but probably going in for a Manish Pandey, or probably even some of the more tried and tested names, bringing back Shikhar Dhawan into the fold, having him open, moving KL into the middle order. Do you think that would have been a better option? I understand that they were thinking for the future, but Gui, what's your take on that?
So confusion selection, like this confusion in selection is bound to take place. Like, you know, when no, I think we all missed it when because of the depth we managed to win one or two test series, right? We're like, okay, we nobody's at nothings because they've not played any test cricket back home. Like they've not played an international, like a proper full test match in India, and these guys managed to win test matches in Australia, right? So I mean, that was one time when the selection or other depth was great for us. And in such a moment, this is like one of those, right, when you rest your key players in the midweek game, and then they come back on a Saturday and they're not the same, right? They're like, this is not the squad which played last Saturday, because they just rested, and there's a mental switch which has just like been switched off because you've been dropped for a game. To be honest, nobody knows who's going to come into that position, right? You just know like the top three and the last three. Anyone in the middle is just whoever's playing well. Let them be part of the team. But what seems to be like super important in my mind is if you're backing a player, you can't just back them for one series. You need to back them for a few series. Otherwise, they'll never have a consistent run, which is just like not working. And it seems like it hasn't worked in the past also, right? We've given so many people a shot, and then we've come out with absolutely nobody as a solution to the problem. We're still in the same spot as we were. Like, okay, we have so many talents. Let's try all of them. If I'm going to try them for like two series also, I don't think it's enough. Kohli and Rohit and KL have been playing for a while, right? Before they become consistent like in the starting 11, which also needs to be the case for everyone else. Like if you're showing faith in say Ishan Kishan, okay, even if I'm not a fan at the moment, caveat at the moment. And someone like Sky, again, Mazhar, you take his name incorrectly. It's not Surya Kumar Yadav, it's Sky. Say it right. Okay. So if you have someone like Sky in the team, who seems like a good pick, right? When he is in form, like he's the 4 or 5 games that Mumbai did well was just down to him being back from injury. So I mean, he was called upon and he did so well. So someone like him who gets a consistent run would be super important, because we need to fill spots and we need to do it as quickly as possible so that we have a consistent 11 by the time the World Cup arrives.
Gui, I think you were spot on about Sky as well, but I think Tilak Verma is another person who I am interested to see. I think I know I'm the last person, how critical I am about having people chosen basis the IPL. But I think he has his head on his shoulders. He showed temperament. And for me, that's the most important thing in any batsman who's coming one down or two down, or is going to play in the middle order. So I'm seeing signs of maturity. Hopefully he can keep that going. And, if he gets a chance with the Indian team when they play the next series in the T20s, then I hope he takes it. I am not so worried about where Indian cricket goes in terms of the test structure. I think we found a solid 11 in that. We still need to figure out a middle order. I love Shubman Gill, and I think he should be there throughout. I think he also has shown that he's got every technique already buttoned down and he's a very conventional batsman in that sense. So I like that. Now let's get into the chunk of the matter now, the IPL Orange Cap, making sure. So the Orange Cap is for the batsman. Yes, Krishna, there we go. Jos Buttler ran away with it, and he seemed to run away with it after the fourth game itself. 863 runs in 17 innings. Second, KL Rahul, who also had an outstanding season with 616 runs. Then you have De Kock from Lucknow again with KL Rahul. So they were the opening pair with 508. And then, as you mentioned, Krishnan, Hardik Pandya, 487 runs in just 15 innings. Shubman Gill, fifth with 483 in 16 innings. David Miller in sixth with 481. This was dominated by Gujarat in the end. And then you had Faf again. Man, not enough can be said about him. I can run through all the names, but I think I'm going to stop there. There are many noteworthy names in there. Shikhar Dhawan's making a case for himself again. But Krishnan, Jos Buttler, man. Go off.
Unbelievable tournament, just a fantastic tournament. And I think what we've learned from the IPL is if you have one opener who absolutely kills it, that can take you really, really far in this tournament. I was saying this about Chennai. I think Faf du Plessis carried, and Ruturaj Gaikwad last season carried them. I very much believe all four teams that were in the end, like the four playoff teams, were very much going off just the fortune of their openers. Quinton de Kock and KL Rahul for the Lucknow Super Giants. Jos Buttler very much for the Rajasthan Royals. Gujarat might be the one somewhat exception. Like down the middle order was where they were solid. They were probably the one exception in that case. And then RCB for sure was Faf du Plessis carrying them at the top of the order. So having a good opener means so much in the IPL. Jos Buttler, I have to say, I think I have an English bias for the same reason that Gui spoke about a few episodes ago. They're just such a boring team that I think I just forget about them. But Jos Buttler was phenomenal. 4 centuries, including a century in their knockout game against RCB to take them to the finals, coming at crucial times. Like you said, he ran away with it right from the start. 863 runs is no joke. That is an insanely high performance. The one thing though I do want to say, so I assume when I saw this, that 863 must be the highest ever made by an Orange Cap winner. A shout out to Virat Kohli, because I know he's going through a rough time. This man in 2016 scored 973 runs and played one less game than Jos Buttler did this season. So I was shocked to see that this Jos Buttler's was not the highest total of all time, but I don't want to run away too much from just giving Jos Buttler's flowers. He was phenomenal for Rajasthan. I think he carried that team. I think Devdutt Padikkal was also decent with him at the top of the order. Sanju Samson, of course, coming one down. He really led the team, and he's proving time and time again. We keep talking about Joe Root and Ben Stokes so much for the English team. He's proving time and time again to actually be the consistent batsman in the team. Like you see through Joe Root's up and downs, actually, he's kind of this weird forgotten figure. I feel like every time he performs well, someone just performs better and then people forget about him, Like his iconic, he was really helpful in the famous Lord's test, but Ben Stokes just ended up being better. He was obviously the guy with behind the run out in the World Cup final game. So I'm guess calling out my own and maybe any other person's English bias and saying, watch Jos Buttler. Phenomenal season. Blew away the competition. Hands down the most exciting batting experience of this IPL by far. And he did it time and time again and at important times. So hats off to him.
I always said that Josh Buttler is going to be someone like he will be the world's best batsman at some point. Like when he broke onto the scene, because I watched him playing in English County, and I was so amazed by the loads of talent this guy could have and the way he could just knock the ball from the word go. He doesn't need time to get his eye in, and I can go on about Josh Buttler. We can do an episode just on him. I'll come to you with the purple cap, Gui. Yuzi, your favorite spinner, winning the purple cap, in ended up with 27 wickets at an average of 19.5 in 17 games. Hasaranga was not too far behind, played one less game, but got 26 wickets. Again, completely understand that he's the world's number one T20 bowler, but it's so hard to live up to that reputation, and he did it. Kagiso Rabada, not enough can be said. He's always in the talks. Umar Malik, fourth in the purple cap, as Krishnan you brought up as well. Kuldeep Yadav, it seems like these two are back. The Kulcha scene, they've faced enough of critiques, and now they're back. Shami again in the talks. Honestly, I'm impressed by the number of pacers on this list. So, Gui, your standout or your highlights of the purple cap?
Also, sorry, just super quickly before you go, Gui, is there any more proof that like bowling is such a batting favored like team? None of these guys, half these people didn't make the playoffs even. Like half of these teams were not in the playoffs. Like Hasaranga and Yuzvendra Chahal were fine. Rabada didn't make it. Umar Malik didn't make it. Kuldeep Yadav didn't make it. 3 of the 5 people in the top were not even in the playoffs. So they weren't even able to influence the game enough to like get them team like to 4th place. So anyway, sorry, Gui, I just wanted a quick shout out.
Now that you made that point, last season, I think Harshal Patel was super close to like the highest ever wickets tally and didn't make it to the playoffs. Right? RCB didn't make it to the playoffs, if I'm correct.
I don't think so.
No, last season they didn't. Last season
they didn't. And I think he ended up level. Yeah, he ended up level with the highest ever wickets tally in the IPL. And I was like, I mean, make it like so that you have 2 more matches, just take 1 more wicket. Like he had such a phenomenal season. But anyway, like mad point, Krishnan. And that
yeah, that changes everything. I don't think we need to have the purple cap conversation now. It's just like it's like okay, you tried. It's like an award which is okay, you tried.
Exactly.
It's like oh my god, there are 2 caps. Must talk about the other one.
I'm selfishly saying this so that I can stop fucking confusing the caps. If they just have 1 cap, then there's no way I could fuck it up.
But to be honest, like even though these guys perform so well, like having 20 plus wickets for 2 of them, like 25 plus wickets for Yuzi and Hasaranga, at no point did you feel like these guys are carrying the team. You know, it's still like at the back of your mind, it's like Buttler carried the Royals, DK, and DK was the one pulling all the weight. Even though these guys have 25 plus wickets, like what more can you do? I don't know. Like, damn. But very happy to see a first timer in the top 5, Umar Malik. Madness, of course, the new rage. 1 second. He has 22. That's crazy. Anyway, I don't think there's too much weight in this conversation. Like after mentioning
I think Krishnan just like destroyed the entire purple cap. I think BCCI needs to consider changing this concept totally altogether. Make it, I don't know. No idea.
They should give the umpires also 1 cap. Now, most big decisions not overturned.
Yeah, exactly. At this point,
I mean,
it's like this. It's like this.
Any opportunity for sponsorship, I'm 100% there'll be a Pepsodent umpire of the game. Of the 2 umpires, Pepsodent umpire of the game will be there for sure.
Oh my God. Presentation ceremonies this time in the IPL were never ending. I was like, okay, it's going to stop now. Okay, it's going to stop now. Okay, it's going to stop now. I think at one point, someone won 4 awards. So even that guy was tired. He was like, he's had a wide smile after the first one. Then his smile slowly started diminishing. And it was so noticeable. I think it was Jaddu. Was it Jaddu? No, maybe not. Can't remember who it was, but it was definitely, I think it was a Chennai player, if I'm not wrong. But yeah, it was just hilarious. they can just change it up a bit, right? Like change out the system at least. Like use all the names, doesn't matter. But anyway, that's one of the pet peeves that we can add to the list as well.
I definitely think we have another pet peeves episode we could do. I think
Coming
we've
for sure.
accumulated a
Coming for
few.
sure. For all those watching or listening to us, we have a pet peeves episode. The link will be there at the top if you're watching the YouTube video, and it'll be put into our description. You can check that out. But now, guys, just gonna ask you for one player each who you thought was, and this can be from the surprise package or whatever, up to you. Hero of the season for you and a flop of the season. Doesn't have to be an Indian player, it can be anyone. I'm going to start. My flop of the season, Ishan Kishan. And hero of the season, Hardik Pandya. Gui, I'll go to you first.
You stole my pick for the worst player this season, or whatever. Will not say worst player. We'll stick to zero. But okay, to make it different, Rohit.
But he never performs, to be fair. Gui, in the IPL, he never performs. It's just historically proven, and I'm happy with that as long as he plays well for the Indian cricket.
So, okay, then I'll stick to Ishan because Ishan was shit, bro. He was shit. Like, I'm like, when? At some point, the money they put on it needs to like have some ₹1 worth of performance. But anyway, and hero, I will still stick to my guns and say Ashish Nehra. Okay.
Good picks. For flop of the season, I'm going to go with Glenn Maxwell. The guy keeps getting a bunch of money and he always is like, he can hit. Guys, when he hits, he hits. But he hits 1 6 and gets out. So,
Shahid Afridi.
He's Shahid Afridi. But Shahid Afridi at least had 1 or 2 knocks, you remember. This guy's had no knocks in the IPL that I can remember, honestly. So, flop of the season, Glenn Maxwell. I'm going to say hero, David Miller. I think he was a big turning point for when he returned from the Bangladesh-South Africa series. Hit some pretty crucial knocks for Gujarat. I didn't realize averaged 68 this IPL. So had a very, very good IPL. So Miller, I think, is my hero of the tournament.
100%. I think actually David Miller was the biggest surprise this IPL. I thought he was washed up. I questioned Gujarat paying so much money for him.
Same.
And what a turnaround. I think he's giving South Africa hope as well if he plays for South Africa again. He's giving them serious hope in the limited overs format. They needed someone anyway because right now South Africa has also their load has been carried by Van der Dusen now. It was Faf and De Kock, and now it's Van der Dusen. That's it. So if Miller can still perform, then they have hopes going into that. So that's it for the episode. But Krishnan, you always bring your quizzes or your fun questions. This is again not an unofficial one since we just can't seem to get all 4 of us on a pod anymore. But go for it, Krishna.
Okay, guys, we talked a lot about the orange cap and the purple cap. I have now officially figured out which is which. I'll screw it up by next episode. But first question is the orange cap. There is only one player who has won the orange cap 3 times. Who is that player? You can go, beta.
No, let Gui go first, right?
Gui, you go first.
Give me a hint. Okay, like Mazhar has won it because I have no idea. So you can give me a hint and check my guessing prowess, if not.
Okay, he's a batsman.
Exactly. Because if you give him any other hint, he'll get it. Okay, I'll go.
You go, yeah.
So it's the only Australian demon, left-handed batsman caught in the sandpaper gate. Well, he wasn't caught in it. He was accused of it and then banned. It's not Steve Smith, Gui.
It's David.
I said left-hander. There we go.
Was bang on. David Warner. And dude, he had another good tournament. Like he had a very good tournament, I thought, for Delhi again. The guy just performs. He's such a consistent batsman. He just sticks in there. He won in 2019, 2015, 2017. David Warner is absolutely right. He has won the most orange caps. I think the only person, there's only one other person who's won it more than once.
Is that Sean Marsh? Or is it Rahul?
It's a good question. You know what? I'll make that a question.
I think it's Sean Marsh.
Who's
I think
the
it is
only
Sean
other
Marsh.
person to win more than once? Okay. Must goes Sean Marsh.
Yeah, I'm going with Sean Marsh.
Okay.
Robin Uttapa.
Oh, it is not. It's actually Chris Gale.
Oh, Chris Gale. Okay.
Chris Gale. Back-to-back seasons, 2011, 2012. That was the time where he was just killing it at RCB. Back-to-back seasons, he won it. But similar question. There are 5 Indians. Who have won the IPL, this award, which is the Orange Cap. The years are 2010, 2014, 2016, 2020, and 2021. Who are the 5? It's all different people. There's no overlap. Who are the 5 people who have won it?
I know Kohli won it once.
Convenient.
Kohli is a given. Now we've all given it away.
2016 that was, which you only mentioned in the pod, Krishnan.
Correct. I
So,
give away one.
Okay.
Hey, no,
I'll
let
have
me
to
go first now.
backtrack a
What is
bit.
this?
Okay, go, Krishnan.
KL
Yeah,
has won
you
it
go.
once. KL
Yes.
has won it once.
That also I gave you.
I'm using the past 40 minutes.
Past information you've gotten.
Okay.
2 so far. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I've seen your guesses as Virat, KL. Okay.
Rohit at some point has not won it. No. Yes, he has not won it at any point.
I'm not going to make a face only now.
This is always GUI guessing strategy. Yeah? Go through all the people who have not gotten it. And then he gets.
Hey, 1 second. Robin Uttapa really never won it over.
Hey bro, you're supposed to guess. And then at the end, I tell you the answer, my guy. Tu aise kaise pooch raha hai? Sahi hai ki nahi? You're asking the teacher if you got the answer.
Okay.
Hey bro, is it C or D?
1 second. Let me think of more Indians who played in the IPL. Shocking. Go for it, mother. I can't think of anyone else. But I will say Robin Uttapa, Parthiv Patel, and.
Oh. Go for it, man. Go for it. There are no stakes.
Parthiv Patel and.
One left. No, you're done. You said Kohli. You said Rahul.
I took back Rohit.
He took back Rohit.
No, Rahul, Kohli, Uttapa, Parthiv Patel. Okay, one left.
That guy, Padikkal.
Gone with it.
Who you could have gone?
First 4 games he had the orange cap. No.
Yeah. Okay.
I have some memory of him wearing it.
Okay, let's go backwards. So, descending order. So, Gaikwad won it last year, 2021. So, Rahul, then Kohli, Uttapa, when he was smashing sixes in CCI, which were out of the stadium only, and Sachin.
Bang on, Maz. So I'll go forward since you went backward. Sachin Tendulkar 2010, Robin Uttapa 2014 with KKR, 2016 Virat, 2020 KL Rahul, 2021 Ruturaj Gaikwad. I'm at least glad Gui said Uttapa. Like after initially saying Uttapa, and then I'm at least glad he finally said Uttapa. Like I was feeling like he was gonna have one of my moments where like he says something makes sense and then like 5 minutes later forgets about it. But that's all I had. I had a couple of questions for Purple Cap, but as we've spoken about, Purple Cap does not matter. So I think that's all I have for today.
I mean, it matters. You get good celebrations like Imran Tahir and in the past Brett Lee and Billy Bowden when he was the umpire and Shoaib Akhtar when Pakistan was allowed to play in the IPL and so on and so forth. Going just a trip down memory lane for the IPL because you brought up Sachin and all. Jayasuriya and Sachin, you ever envisage that you'll see those two guys batting together in your life? I can definitely say no, I never did. Yep. And they still shut the bed at the time. I remember they finished last in the table or second last. I don't remember. One of those 2 slots only. And they had those cool jerseys, which was like a Chelsea copy. Looked like it was
I remember this. Yes.
It looked like they ripped it off Chelsea only and was selling it at Chor Bazaar. But never mind. It's a different story. But honestly, that jersey was really nice. This new one is terrible. I hate that golden, which just hurts the eyes. Get rid of it, Mumbai. You can do better. You have enough money. You can definitely do better with
Their
your
name
team.
is Indians. I don't know if they can do better. They had all the choice of names and they went with Indians. So
Which
I'm not
reminds me,
exactly.
which reminds me of what the Delhi Capitals explanation was. What is Delhi Capital? It's not Mumbai. It's not Mumbai Indian, right? It's Mumbai Indians. So how can it be Delhi Capital? It has to be Delhi Capitals. I'm gonna put that link, that video link for sure in the description. Do check that out. And for all those tuning in, I hope you enjoyed listening to us as much as we enjoyed discussing the IPL. Honestly, we barely know enough about it. Rather not know enough about it. We barely care enough about it. We love cricket. We love our Indian cricket team, but the IPL, it's literally just a spectacle. But thank you for tuning in. Till then, we'll see you next week. Take care, stay safe, and see you soon.
If you like this episode, make sure to leave a like and share it with anyone else who might be interested. You can also subscribe on any social media platform that you prefer, and all our links are in the bio. We also have a website with all our episodes as well as blogs and a whole lot of other sports content, so make sure to check that out as well.